I have an extremely amazing guest with us today. Laurel Huston was introduced to me by a mutual friend, and it was like, you've got to do the show. So excited for you to come on here and share with the audience, our listeners, our viewers, what you're all about, a little bit of your story. And we were talking before, and so I wish we could almost have the before conversation. It's just interesting, like all the little things, you know, we talked about betrayal a little bit, and we'll talk about how you can restore friendships and the divine feminine. We're going to go into a ton of areas. And I think you said money, sex, and something else. So that's what we're all about, right? That's what we got to know all the things. So we're going to hit all those topics today: money, sex, all the things, because it's important and it's good to talk about. I see so many more, I think, healthier conversations around sex. And what's interesting about that is recently becoming kind of single. I say kind of single because I'm not like flashing it out there, but obviously I just said it. But coming into this singlehood and not loving dating, like not wanting to be in the dating scene. I never was, even when I was single in the past. And going into this new world where sex is first, like this is what I'm seeing. Sex is first, and then the rest of it happens after. And I'm like, this is so confusing, you know? And so we can talk about some funny stuff, and I'll even share a little dating crazies. I haven't really dated, but I will share a funny story. But let's talk about you. Share with our audience, where are you from? Talk about the journey getting into what you do, because you don't just wake up one day and go, I'm going to be a healer. Like that doesn't just happen. You obviously go through things, or you get put in a path where that is something put in front of you. So let's talk about it. Where are you from? How did you get started in this space?
So thank you so much for having me on here. I'm really excited because this is a message that I didn't actually mean to become an entrepreneur. Just personal stuff about me. I've been married to one man for 14 years. We only dated for 9 months before we got married. And as soon as we were on date 5 or 6 and we're like, we're going to get married, right? Yeah. Okay. And we just knew. And we have 3 kids in 14 years. And the reason I share this is because I think people are kind of losing their belief that love happens and that it's long lasting. And statistically, when we hit our 10-year anniversary, we were like, we made it. We're good. Because all of a sudden, it just changes things. And people think, oh, when you get to that 10-year mark, all of a sudden it gets easier, and it doesn't. And that's actually part of why I started doing what I'm doing. So I talk about bodies, money, and sex. And the reason that I talk about those 3 things, you actually touched on. There are so many just destructive, gross conversations about that. And I want to change those conversations. But a key part to that is understanding that in our body, we hold emotions. And you basically have one bucket for sexual experiences, value and money, and your perception of yourself. And they are all in the same bucket. And so when you change your relationship with money, it changes your relationship with intimacy and with sexuality. And when you change your relationship with that, it changes your relationship with your body. And when you change your relationship with your body, it changes your relationship with money and with intimacy. And it's this beautiful vortex that either brings people, resources, and money to you, or pushes it away and keeps you in toxicity. And so I talk about the 3 things together because I had to go through my own journey with that. And I spent 6 years before I met my husband in an incredibly abusive relationship with a narcissist. And he had me believing that no one would ever want me, that I was disgusting, that I was bad, that I was wrong, that a lot of what I call spiritual shaming. He used a lot of religious things to tell me that I was horrible and sinful, and just a lot of manipulation in so many ways. And so I had to recover from that. And I know I'm not the only woman who has had someone hate her because she was beautiful. I am not the only woman who has been hated because she was overweight. I am not the only woman who has been told that they weren't enough. And so there's a couple parts to this, because at first it was, I need to learn to love myself again. Mm-hmm. But that's a really big, heavy task. So I said, okay, I'm just going to learn to love my body one part at a time. And so that is where what I created is called body mapping. And you said you had done a little bit of research on that. And basically the short version of what body mapping is, every part of your body can be measured with another part of your body. And it symbolizes something. It means something. It tells us we have a literal map on our body that our creator said, I need you to be able to have a compass with you to always find you. And I'm going to put it on your body. So body mapping is teaching you all of the different parts and pieces and what they mean, because if you can love your body one part at a time, then you can love your relationships one part at a time. And you can have and reframe your relationship with money one part at a time. And so this is 20 years of me. I started out as a cosmetologist. This is 20 years of me being able to stare at people without being a creeper. This is, I have a degree in psychology and a degree in communication. So I studied body language, studied the mind. And I was like, but a person is a mind, a body, and a spirit. So we have to align all three. And that is really where healing comes in, is when you work on the body, work on the mind, and work on the spirit. And so I combined that all together to create this. And I'm really excited to share, but I want to, what questions do you have here? Because that was a lot of information.
It is, but you know what, that's okay. Our listeners are used to it. I mean, we hit everybody with all the things right away. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious because, so recently I said, I'm in a new phase of my life. My marriage is coming to an end. It's almost over. And, I've been private about it, but I will talk about this area because when you've been with the same person for 17 years and I hate to say it like this, I never had an issue dating, meaning there was always a guy waiting in the wings. I always had a boyfriend. High school had a boyfriend. There was always boom, 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 boom. I never took a breath. That's not always healthy because I didn't always take time for myself and to discover myself. So I know there's a lot of people. And right now, we just went through a global pandemic. We're still going through crazy shifts and changes. I mean, now there's a Delta variant, and I'm not trying to put it down. I'm just saying there's always something right now. Everybody's kind of at this weird, what's happening? Social media and dating and in the world of relationships is all online. It's very rare to have a face-to-face or even a phone conversation. So when it comes to discovering yourself, and trying to navigate this new world and to heal old things as we're going through the unknown, a massive shift in spirituality, a massive shift in higher beings, a massive shift in healers. People are coming out of the woodwork, they're tapping into their powers. I truly believe this. I've had some gifts that I've used when needed. And also the reason I was successful in business is because those gifts, when I tapped in unknowing, got me to different levels. And so what's interesting is I'm seeing this massive shift of consciousness and all these people ready. People are ready. They're ready. There doesn't need to be anything hidden anymore. Even the hard stuff that's come out, I think a lot of people embraced it, and rabbit holes, we've gone down rabbit holes in the last year. Trust me, I was one of them. Some of the things that we didn't want to see, we had to see. And now we're in this phase of socially trying to communicate with people. And my questions would be, somebody like me who's navigating a new body, because my body has gone through some major shifts, a new mind. I recently quit drinking a year ago. My whole world changed. Yeah.
Congratulations.
I know, but it changed my whole world. I shouldn't say and it changed my whole world in such great ways. Now I'm feeling all the feels. And I have a lot of unknowns.
Yes.
I'm experiencing everything for the first time. That includes myself for the first time. The idea of sex, oh my God, so I want to talk to women, obviously women who are listening, men too. Men should hear these conversations too, to understand what women are feeling and thinking. How do we navigate this? How do we navigate this new consciousness, this way of communicating? How can we be masters of it? Because I have a lot of challenges with only communicating via text or social media. I am a phone person. I am like me and you right now. This is good. You can hear me. You can see my mannerisms. And that's important to me because that's how I communicate. So when you take all that away, I've had challenges in that department, and I want to be the best communicator I can. So let's talk about communication, and let's talk about sex, because sex is really important. And I know that it taps into all these things. So let's just hear about it. Let's talk about sex.
So a big part of that is that we actually need to kind of change and reframe sexual experiences, because there is a huge difference between sex and intimacy. Mm-hmm. And the thing that takes you from a sexual experience to an intimate relationship is trust. It's safety. You can have sex every single day, and it's a task. It's part of your to-do. Mm-hmm. And you can have intimacy, but you cannot have that without trust. And that's why you're asking, like, how do we gain connection? How do we gain communication? How do we do all of those things? And I actually did a post about this the other day. You can only accept love and understanding and appreciation from other people at the level you have it for yourself. Mm-hmm. So the short answer is you need to learn how you communicate before you can actually successfully communicate with other people. And I'm not talking about with your mouth. Do you listen to your body? Because your body has been talking to you for years. And one of the things you said is, okay, well, now that I'm sober, I have to feel all the feels, and it's terrifying. Mm-hmm. There's so much, but if you don't feel it, you will never heal it. Yeah. And that doesn't mean other people don't hear it when you speak. So a big part of communication and a big part of building those connections so that you can feel safe in sexual experiences and those intimate experiences is actually first starting to listen to yourself, to listen to your body. Your head is going to screw you over and over and over and over. The only purpose your brain has is to keep you alive. It has a category of lived through and possible death. And for so many people, because they have had embarrassment, because they lack connection with themselves, so they lack connection with other people, they try to have these personal experiences, but it equals possible death because there's embarrassment involved. There's uncertainty involved. And so they hide from those personal experiences. But I'm going to say this, and I know I'm going to get flack for it from people, but I'm going to say it anyways. If people want in-person experiences, then stop communicating only through text messages. If you're communicating with someone and you're like, hey, let's jump on a Zoom call, like that would be a step above text. Can I actually see you in person? Can we like do a face-to-face? Okay, now that we've had this, can I see you in person? Can I actually, because you know what? People dated in person for centuries. But we have created a society that accepts fake communication. So you're not alone, though, in saying, I don't want this. I want connection. And even before the world fell apart, people wanted connection, but they were so scared to create it with someone else because they didn't have it with themselves. Mm-hmm. And so that is a big part of this and I'm talking about basic, are you listening to yourself? I have a three-nager. And when we were potty training, that was one of the first things that we started to talk about with him is I would say, listen to your body. When your body says we need to go to the bathroom, stop playing and go to the bathroom. But how many times as adults are we like, we were on a road trip the other day and I was like, dear, I've got to go to the bathroom. And he's like, but we're making good time. And I was like, pull over. Right. So our body says we're thirsty and we go eat a cookie. So we're not even listening to ourselves anymore. So how can we listen to other people? And this is huge because, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going very spirit-led here. And so when sexual energy and sexual experiences are the same energy as creation and connection energy. And so when you shut down connection and creation energy, you also shut down intimacy and vice versa. So if you're not open to sexual experiences, it's hard to be open to connection. And this is something, especially with healers, if you can shut a woman down sexually, if you can shame her for her body, you will shut her off from her intuition. You will shut her off from source energy, from the creator. Mm-hmm. If you can shut a man down emotionally, you do the same thing. And what has our society gotten really, really good at? Shutting men down emotionally and shutting women down sexually. And there's this huge feminine awakening where people are like, no, I want to be awake. I want to be alive. I want to be tuned in. I want to be turned on. But it terrifies me.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like that's kind of where you're at, that you're like, I know there's more. I know it could be better. I want these beautiful sexual experiences that are safe. I want connection, but I want connection first. Well, and I've taught thousands of men, and you know what? They want connection first too. Men are not these mindless animals that we've turned them into.
Right.
Men crave connection, and they have learned that one of the fastest, easiest ways for them to get it is through sexual experiences. They're not craving sex, they're craving connection, because they want to be tuned in and turned on too. They want to have that connection with source, with other people. Women also do it through sexual experiences. So when you have a woman who's been shamed for her body, when you've been shamed for wanting to live in passion and desire, she starts to doubt if she can make decisions. She starts to doubt if she understands what's happening in the world around her. And she goes into protective energy. She goes into masculine energy. And I bring up masculine and feminine energy, and then I hesitate because I need to clarify what masculine and feminine energy is. It's not gender roles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who does your dishes. I don't care who mows your lawn. Feminine energy is about pull. It's about invite. It's about nurture. It's about heal. Masculine energy is about protect. It's about provide. It's about quick decision making. And so when women feel unsafe in their communication, they go into masculine energy, and then they try to talk to men, and they come across as pushy and controlling and unattractive, because if men are wanting to sleep with men, then they're going to go talk to men, not women. So when you come across as a pushy masculine, they're like, whoa, I thought you were like, and it's not weakness. It's inviting. It's seduction energy. That's what feminine energy is. We're literally created to bring people, resources, and money to us. But if you hate your body, it's not going to happen. And it will push relationships. So my question for you is, when you're having these text message conversations and people are trying to connect, does this set off all sorts of bells and whistles? This is unsafe. I can't do this. Or are you like, yeah, let's connect?
I think I'm open to connecting. I think, but I also have walls built up that have been an issue all my life. So I'm practicing. I'm always mindful, like be open to receive. Like I have to say that to myself, because I've had people like, oh, I'll buy you dinner or something like that. No, you don't have to buy me dinner. I'm like, what am I doing? You can buy me dinner. Like, it's okay. Like, or people offer, that doesn't mean it's a man. It could be a woman too.
Anyone.
It's like this natural instinct to say, no, that would be silly of you to buy me anything. And it's like, why do I do that? You know, I have these walls built up. So I've been very mindful of being vulnerable. And then sometimes being vulnerable to me is scary, because I'm like, well, they're going to think I'm insecure. Or they're going to think like that I have all these panic buttons, because it's like, well, I don't want to come off insecure, but I'm being vulnerable because I trust. Does that make sense? And so then I question all that. I overthink, like you were talking about earlier. I'm an overthinker.
Yeah. So here's a little bit of the difference with that. Being vulnerable is about being seen for who you really are. And people who will not actually say, this is who I am, have never actually stepped into vulnerability. So when you are trying to say, I'm allowed to be seen. So in body language, when people there's a difference between, hey, I'm going to divulge private information and call that vulnerability, versus I'm going to tell you this story and I hope to connect on a different level. Mm-hmm. We divulge information all the time. That doesn't actually mean we do it to connect. And when we do this in person and in body language, have you ever seen someone and they talk with T-Rex arms? Mm-hmm. Their elbows are like right up against them and they're like, hello. And all of their emotions are right in front of them, versus someone who has these big open arms and their elbows are far away from their side. when you are in true vulnerability, you will release your elbows from the side of your body so that people can see through you. Mm. And when you're in fear, those elbows give you T-Rex arms and they are close to your body and no one can see through you. So you can tell a story that has a lot of deep personal information, but that doesn't actually mean you've allowed yourself to be vulnerable. And vulnerability is a very feminine trait, because without vulnerability, we put up those walls like you were saying. And so to have walls literally tells me I am in masculine energy, because masculine energy is all about protection. Mm-hmm. It's all about hiding. It's all about being strategically seen. Feminine energy, though, masculine energy, whether it's in a man or a woman, because we all have both, masculine energy thrives on pleasing the feminine. And so this is why when you're in feminine energy, people are like, let me buy you this. Let me give you this. Mm-hmm. Because masculine energy thrives on pleasing the feminine. This is why people will go into people pleasing, because they're in masculine energy and the person that they're with is in feminine energy. And so they want to make them happy at all costs. Mm-hmm. And if you talk to men who are in masculine energy, they say similar things. They're like, I don't buy you things because I think you're incapable of buying them for yourself. Like, I know you make good money. I know you have all these good things, but my husband we have 3 kids and he still opens doors for me. And when we were very first dating and he walked around the car and opened my car door, I said, I can get my own door. And he goes, just because you're capable doesn't mean you should have to. He has never protected me because he sees me as weak. He protects me because he sees me as so valuable. I'm worth protecting. Mm-hmm. But I had to own that. And Shylo, that's where you're at. You have to own that you are valuable. You are valuable enough to be seen, that people who you're going to connect with are willing to get off their text messages, are willing to stop swiping right and left, and are going to actually see you and be in person with you, even if they're across the country. People can still travel.
Yeah.
You are worth being seen for who you are. And so this is a big part of what I hear. You're like, but who am I right now? That's what I'm trying to discover. And you're not discovering her, you're uncovering her. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference, because she's hidden in everyone else's opinion of you.
Yeah.
She's hidden in 30 years of living up to everyone else's expectation.
Wow. Okay, so we're on this subject, and it's a big one.
Yeah.
Now we talk about relationship with money, because that's the other thing. Let's hit it, because all the listeners are going, I want to be successful. What's holding me back? Why can't I make money? Why do I have fear around money? What is this? What is this? So let's talk about money and success, because that's a big, big one too. And a lot of people tie their worth to success and money. Mm-hmm. So let's hear it. Yeah.
So here's a really good example of this. When you look at your bank account and it has gone down, mm-hmm. you literally in your mind say, oh, I'm now worth less because I'm worthless. Mm. We have tied our perception and our value of what we can give to the world based on our bank account. And it's the opposite. When you say, I have value just being here, a human in this human experience, I add value to life. You will add value to your bank account, because regardless of the number in your bank account, when you know you have value, when you know you have worth just being alive, but here's what happens, because so many of us have been trained, we've been told the more you do, the more value you have. So then women get into hustle and overwhelm, and they push and they grind and they're exhausted, but they have this thought of, if I do less, then I'm worth less. Mm. So I have to do more so I can make more. But that's grind, that's hustle, that's that is literally masculine energy, and masculine energy pushes.
Yeah.
It pushes people, it pushes money, and it pushes resources. So is that very valuable for men? Yes. That's why men can get away with being a pushy salesman and women can't. This is why women need to do business and look at money in a, how will this money nurture, nourish, and heal my relationships? Where men look at money and they say, how will this money protect and provide for the things I hold value?
Right.
The task doesn't have to change. I can show up for a 9 to 5. The task doesn't change. But if I show up for that 9 to 5 and I say, all of the money, resources, and people that I now have access to, I have access to because I'm valuable.
Right.
Instead of, if I don't have access to people, resources, and money, it's because I don't deserve it and I'm worthless. So my bank account will become worth less.
Okay. Makes sense.
Does that make sense? Does that help? So, and everyone's like, okay, well, that's my problem, but what do I do about it? I get it. So, and it's not just, oh, I'm going to put a declaration on my mirror that says I have value and I am important. Then start taking care of yourself. And I say this for both men and women. How many times have we been told an empty cup can't fill someone else's? So engage in self-care, which is a beautiful concept, except if the only reason you're filling your cup is so you can empty it, you will never feel fulfilled because you're still empty all the time. So you fill yourself up and you live in joy and pleasure, and the overflow is what you give to everyone else. You never empty yourself up to fill others. And this is one of the phrases when I really started changing my money story, because quite honestly, I grew up in poverty. My father was a high school teacher in the state of Utah, which is like one of the least paid high school states in the US. And I'm the youngest of 7 children. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So my parents raised 7 children on a high school teacher's salary. 5 of us went to college. And every year we went traveling. So I did not know I was poor because my parents did not have a poor mindset. They taught us, look at all that the world has given us. Look at all we have. And so I had to really reevaluate where I was with my own money. And one of the things that I tell people, so if you're listening and you have a piece of paper, write these 4 questions down. My mother taught me money is. My father taught me money is. My relationship with money is. When I think about money, I want. So my mother taught me money is, my father taught me money is, my relationship with money is, when I think about money, I want. Mm-hmm. So don't go into paragraphs. Like, what are 4 or 5 words, 1 sentence that you learned from each of those? And I saw you, and you have answers for all of those. Like, I could see you coming up with them in your mind. So if I were to take those same 4 questions and say, okay, instead of my mother taught me money is, think about your answer and now change the question to say, my mother taught me pleasure is. And think about that exact same answer. My father taught me pleasure is. Think about your answer about money. My relationship with pleasure is, what's your answer about money? When I think about pleasure, I want, what's your answer about money? Okay, so then here's the really big, now change it to statements about yourself. My mother taught me I am. What was your answer about money? Mm-hmm. My father taught me I am. What was your answer about money? When it comes to my relationship with myself, I am. And when I think about myself, I want. Change one and change them all because they all correlate. If you want to know, and this is why we're all screwed up. If you want to know why you have problems with your relationships, well, what were you taught about money? I was taught from my father that men use cash and always get what they want. And I was taught, and my parents didn't ever sit me down and say, this is the rule. I was taught by my mom that if it's at the grocery store and we have checkbooks, we can have it. So women buy necessities and men can have whatever they want. Okay, so that is what I learned about pleasure. Yep. For women, sex is a necessity, and for men, they can do whatever they want. When it comes to my thought about myself, I can only have what I need, but whoever I love that's a man, I give them whatever they want. Mm. And as soon as I changed one of those, I changed my bank account, I changed my marriage, I changed my health, because they all go together.
Right.
So
my mom always said, and I'll just go off so people can relate a little bit. My mom always struggled with money. Like we never had it. And so money was either there's not enough, there's never enough. I still have that mentality today, even though I make good money. Mm-hmm. It's never enough. And it's also a negative thing. She had a lot of like, money's terrible, but we didn't view money as a positive. Mm-hmm. It was something we always wanted because we grew up very poor, very humble. My dad valued money, but it's hard to explain. So it's really interesting. Like you need to be responsible with money. You need to be smart because otherwise you'll be like your mom. Mm-hmm. So there was this, if you don't have money, you're going to end up like your mom, which was in his way of saying not successful, struggling. She was on assistance all her life, always had issues. So it was like shame and disappointment if you are not good with money. Mm-hmm. And I do feel that. And now that we were going through that, I'm like, shame and disappointment comes up all the time in all the things, all my stuff. Embarrassment comes up all the time. It just happened to me 2 weeks ago. I'm like, why is embarrassment something that comes up? Disappointment comes up. Like I'm always disappointing people. I'm always like, don't embarrass me. Like, just things like that. Like, it's really interesting what's going on when we talk about that. But yeah, my mom's represented like this fear of money or would never have enough money, being poor. And then my dad's was, well, if you're not responsible and if you're not smart with money, you're going to be like this. And it was this poor example, you know what I mean? So very interesting. And he had made mistakes with money too, but he always had enough money. Like that was
so. And when you turn that into pleasure, if you make mistakes with sex, you're going to end up like your mom.
Yeah.
And if you make mistakes, period, you're going to end up like her too. And she's not enough.
Right.
So, I mean, very, very destructive.
Very.
So this is how you turn that around. You look at your mom and you go, what about my mom was amazing? What about my mom? Am I so grateful that she was that person? Because that's the part of me that I adopted too. Okay. So then you can say, okay, well, yeah, dad taught me that if I do this, then I'm like mom, but mom's like this. And I'm so grateful that mom's like that. Yeah. And all of a sudden your sense of no to low value is, but mom's amazing. And I'm like, mom. So I am too.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does make sense about a lot of things. Like when I go into panic modes, like I go down the rabbit hole. There's no reason, like it's not real. Cause I'm like, you're fine. You're supported, you're loved. There's nothing going on. But when I have these fear moments, it's always tied to money. Mm-hmm. Always. Mm-hmm. If I have a lot of money in the bank, doesn't matter what happens, I don't get scared. If money is down or if I have to, maybe I put money here and I have to wait a week or something and pay attention to money. Like I don't like to pay attention to money. That's a terrible thing to say out loud. I hate it. Like I don't want to look. I just want to know it's there and I want to be good. I don't want to sit and stare at money all day. I don't know where that comes from, but I don't want to look. It's like this weird thing. I'm saying all the icky out loud, but I do that sometimes. I'm like, I'm not looking. I'm not looking at the bank account.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with the bank account. I just don't want to look.
We do that with our body. There's nothing wrong with my body, but I don't want to look at it.
Sure. Wow. This is big.
we do this with our favorite relationships. Like we're like, oh, I don't want to look at that. Oh, I don't want to look at that. Wow, that was amazing, great sex, but let's not analyze it. Like because if we look at it and we analyze it and we notice things, then we might find flaw.
Mm.
And if we find flaw, then our whole story, I call it my mean girl gremlin. It goes on and on and on and about how she's right. And that is not truth. It's not. It's a perception, but it's not truth. So start noticing your body. If you want to look at money from, I'm like, I love when people are like, I'm going to teach you to love your body. Well, going from my body is disgusting to I love my body is a really big jump. That's like Grand Canyon jump. Mm-hmm. So how about just accepting your body? Can you look at your body and accept the fact that I have blue eyes, I have brown hair? Like start with accepting and acknowledging it before you can say, I love it.
Right.
For me, I mean, I'm like, I have crooked teeth, and crooked is not positive or negative. It's just a fact. I have crooked teeth. I also have very naturally white teeth. I've never bleached my teeth and they're very white. So it's like, I have white teeth. I have crooked teeth. I can accept that I have white crooked teeth. It's not positive. It's not negative. It just is.
It's so interesting with bodies too. Women, a lot of women, men do it too, though. Men do it too, but
yes, they do.
Power and control. So I control, and what I've identified over the last couple of weeks and months, because I've really tried to like pick what's going on. And my brother's helped me with this too. Sometimes he's like, why is it whenever something happens, you instantly go to your body? Like, it doesn't matter what's happening, and I will sabotage and pick it apart on what I need to do to fix it, what I need to do, because it's a control thing. And I instantly go there. So if something's wrong, I'll be like, oh my God, this, and this. And he's like, why do you do that? Why are you picking yourself apart? It makes no sense. But I'm like, but it kind of does, because that's the only thing in my life that I could control 100% is my body.
When we
that's
felt
how up here, that's what I used to think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we feel out of control mentally, we will try to control our physical world. We try to control our eating. We try to control our environment. After 20 years of working in the salon, it was so funny to me because I would have women come in that have hair as long as yours, it's down to their waist. And all of a sudden they want a pixie cut. And I'm like, oh, so what's happened in your life? When women feel out of control, they rearrange furniture or they dramatically change their appearance, because it gives them a sense of control over the one thing they do have control over, which is their body. So when we want to feel more perfect, we try to make our external world appear more perfect. Because if we're more perfect, we're more loved and accepted. So that's when we start
a lot of sense.
That's when we start bossing our kids around. And that's when we freak out because our kitchen isn't cleaned, because it's signs of our imperfection. And if there's too many signs of our imperfection, then there's too many signs that I don't deserve love.
Oh, wow. Well, got to go back to the drawing board. I feel like I'm doing all the wrong things. It's so funny though. That's so true. It's so true. Like it's just being aware is the first step. I always say that to people, like, this is what's going on now. You can stop it or go, okay, why am I doing this? What does this mean to me? And so earlier we talked about my tummy was upset. Let's just talk about that, because so people can understand. So I woke up and I had a really weird upset stomach, almost like flu. Like I could tell I could possibly get sick, but I wasn't sick. I felt really warm. I kept hesitating kind of in the morning, am I going to get sick or not? Because I'm not sure. And I know that I'm fine. But you said that's a sign of digestion, which is a sign of overthinking. And I was like, and yes, I'm 100% overthinking something, which I do all the time. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the signs our body gives us and we don't realize what's going on.
So this is, and this is how I explain it. We all know a bacteria causes an infection, okay? But the symptoms that your body gives you are just messages. So symptoms are not good or bad or right or wrong. They're just messages. And when you listen to the symptoms, you hear the message, and that's what you need to heal. So when you were saying, you're like, oh, my stomach's really upset. I said, oh, well, your digestive system is all about decision-making. So physiologically, your body is what breaks things down into digestible pieces. Well, emotionally, if you are trying to break things down even smaller, it's because you're thinking about them too much. You're like, oh, there's so much to this. I have to make it even smaller. I have to make it more digestible. I have to make it easier. But what ends up happening is we spend too much time focused on it. And our stomach is like, there's nothing left to digest. Just make a decision.
So true.
So when another example of this, I tell people, I can have a cold and lose my voice, but my husband, who I make out with, who now has the same virus as me, gets a stuffy nose. Same virus, but my body has a weakness because I have a belief that says my words don't matter. So I lose my voice so that I can remind myself my words do matter. People do want to hear what I have to say. Because as I have to whisper to everyone, because I lost my voice, people say, could you say that again? And then I go, see, people do want to hear me. Where your nose is that's where we hold value, and money is actually in your nose. And so a lot of times when people have a stuffy nose, it's because their money is no longer in flow. It's become stopped or stuffed. So they get a stuffy nose. And so if my husband is worried about money, he's going to get a stuffy nose from the same virus that made me lose my voice. Because a person is a mind, a body, and a spirit. And we're pretty good about listening to our head. We rarely listen to our spirit because our spirit talks to our body first, and we've stopped listening to our bodies. Mm. So the cycle of this is actually simpler than you think. Start listening to, like, if you're thirsty, don't eat something, take a drink. If you're tired, put your phone down and go to sleep. If you have to use the restroom, get up and use the restroom. Start listening to your body, because as your body says, oh, you're listening to me again, that feeling of unsafe leaves you. It's your body that feels unsafe with your mind. And when your body and your mind are in alignment, the symptoms come, but they also go quickly, because you go, oh man, my back is killing me. Well, you feel unsupported. So where can you gain support? And so the symptom isn't good or bad. The symptom is just a message that's trying to get you to listen to all of yourself again. It's actually trying to help you regain trust in your body. So now that you're like, oh man, I'm totally overthinking blank, make a decision and go into certainty. This is what I've decided.
Okay.
This is what I've decided, because it's also affecting your gums and your teeth. And it's affecting, that your digestive system starts in your mouth. And so this is why people emotionally eat when they don't want to make a decision. They don't want to use their brain to break things down, so they use their teeth to break things down. So we eat instead of make decisions.
That makes sense. This is mind blowing. I love it though. And this is so good. Like, this is just basic. I wish we'd be taught these things in school, like how to navigate in the basics of listening to your body. I mean, think about that, how simple it would be, but also how beneficial. Like, they don't teach us how to, do taxes in school. It's the same thing. Like, they need to teach you how to navigate your body and what it's telling you. They need to teach you how to navigate your emotions and what it's doing and things like that. So it's really, this has been helpful for me on so many levels because, you know, obviously I'm navigating a new world, and there's been a lot of really great growth moments for me and things that I like, instead of reacting, I tend to process and allow to feel. And when I do that, my mind wants to think about it and it wants to analyze the crap out of it. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And I've gotten really good at just saying, okay, let this pass. But it still doesn't stop me from overthinking. And it still doesn't stop me from having the feelings of worthless and embarrassment and like all the things that are tied to these old programs that have been with me since I've been a kid. So it's definitely eye-opening. And I know that this is valuable to our listeners, to our viewers. So definitely really quick, how can people find you? We're also going to throw your links out. So don't stress out if you don't throw them all out, but definitely how can somebody find you right away if they want what you have? Like, do you want some body mapping? You want some healing? Let's do it. How can they find you?
So the fastest, easiest, if you're connected on Facebook and Instagram, Reflections Inside and Out is where you will find me on social media. The name of my company is Reflections Inside and Out because I want to help you love who you are inside and out. If you really want to learn about body mapping, I actually have a monthly course that there's videos. I go in there once a month. People come in and say, I have a stomach ache. What does it mean? And I tell you, and we mentor you through it. And so that is where when people are like, how do I get this? Another just really basic, if you're like, oh, I don't know that I want to commit to a monthly subscription to this. If you go to reflectionsinsideandout.com, I have a free body map there. And what that body map is it allows you to look and say, what does my elbow mean? And it gives you the meaning. What does my arm mean? And it gives you the meaning of your arm. And I also have body mapping cards. So for people that like to pull daily cards, each card, it's what helps you focus on your body one day at a time. So you would just pull a card, like this one is your ankles. Your ankles are about direction and desire. And then it gives you an affirmation. I am worthy of good things and I trust the direction and flow of the universe. And then on the back of the card, it actually gives you a description of what to do to help you do that. So there are lots of ways to, if you just Google body mapping though, I'm the only one you'll find. It is something that I created. But you can find me on social media. You can find me on that direct link to actually be part of Body Mapping Basics, because this is the other part of it. I can tell you all the parts and pieces of you, but I would rather you learn it so that you can learn to be dependent on listening to your body instead of someone else about your body. I want you to reconnect that. I want you to really learn to first accept, then to just be neutral, just be an observer. I have a stomach ache. That's interesting. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. I have a stomach ache. Right. What is it trying to tell me? And now I can love that my body is reminding me, Shylo, stop overthinking.
Yes, exactly. I love this. And we're going to send people to your way. I'm also going to be, working with you because I obviously am excited. I wanted to feature you, but I also wanted to add you to my tool belt because I just have found some incredible friends and healers and colleagues over the last, I'd say 7 to 10 years have been on a very big journey. And the growth and the learning that has come from it and breaking these generational curses, because so much is tied to our family. And, breaking curses and just mindsets and old thinking and realizing, oh my God, that's what I learned when I was a kid, and you don't realize it. And it's playing into your story now. It's like, how do we fix that? So definitely excited to talk to you more. Laurel, you've been incredible. We're going to shout out and show everybody your links, make sure people can find you. Stay cool, everybody. I'm in my halter top and shorts, but stay cool during this heat wave, and we'll catch you on the next episode.